that impeachment say that the phone call that you referenced was about a quid pro quo.
It was perfect.
But
my phone call was perfect. My phone call was saying, please investigate any crimes that you see. And by the way,
he's so back, dude. Come on. He's fucking back. His phone call was perfect, dude. He's right. Why are y'all chirping? Fucking most perfect phone call. Okay? Get the fuck out of here. And here is Donald Trump on Meet the Press, baby. Let's go. Exclusive NBC. And he's popping off in this. Okay? He's fucking popping off. Oh, shit. Ow. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, chill. God damn. God damn. What is that? Hello? She's so fucking heavy. It's crazy.
President Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
thank you.
I want to dive right into this. A lot to get to.
Good.
There are a number of things that make your campaign unprecedented. You are the first former president to run for re-election in more than 100 years. You are facing 4 indictments. You have an incredibly significant lead in the GOP primary polls. But I want to ask you this, Mr. President. Why do you want to be president again?
Well, it's a very simple answer, and I can give it very easily. It's called Make America Great Again. Our country is in serious trouble. I don't think we've ever been so low in terms of certainly opinion, world opinion, and country opinion. People are devastated. They look at what's happening with millions of people coming in, millions of illegal immigrants coming into our country, flooding our cities, flooding the countryside. I think the number is going to be 15 million people by the time you end this. By the end of this year, I think the real number is going to be 15 million people. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions, insane asylums. They say, sir, please don't use that term, but it's true. They're terrorists at a level. It was very interesting. On NBC, I saw a poll, and I saw some statistics, and it said in 2019.
Just remember how, like, what size she was like 2-3 months ago. Oh. I feel like that might have been a little baby earthquake.
There were no terrorists. They caught no terrorists. There was nothing that they saw. There was no anything. And now, this year, it's a record number like they've never seen before. So we did a great job at the border. We did a great job with the military. We did a great job with inflation. We had essentially no inflation. We had a great economy. And we didn't have an Afghanistan disaster. We were getting out, but we were going to get out with dignity and pride, not the way they got out. That was
nothing better than Donald Trump being able to just like take this position where nothing more awesome than Donald Trump being able to take the position that he is like anti-war and like he wanted to get out of Afghanistan, which is popular, while simultaneously being like, I could have done it better. It's like, no, bitch, you wouldn't have done it at all. You had the shot. You didn't do it. It's crazy.
Surrender and an embarrassment and horrible. We gave $85 billion worth of equipment to the Taliban.
The worst part about this is that, like, the Afghanistan withdrawal was bad. It was always going to be bad in some ways. You can't just, like leave a country after occupying it for 20 fucking years. But, like, the worst aspects of why it was bad never get covered. Like, it's bad because there's no protection for the people of Afghanistan. It's bad because, like, we took their money and didn't give it. Like, we still haven't given it back to them. It's bad because, like, we're refusing to allow, like, actual NGOs that used to operate in Afghanistan and continue operating in Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Like, all this shit. Like, those are all the bad things. And except, like, when Donald Trump criticizes it, he's like, oh, it's bad because we left our weapons. It's like, no, man, that's not the bad part. Like, that you fucking left behind all this junk that you always leave behind because logistically speaking, it's more expensive and more costly to just like ship them back. You know? It's so stupid.
Bad. We had death, so much death and so much horrible destruction. And it was a terrible thing. I think it was the lowest point in the history of our country. Now, with all of that, we can change it and we can make America great again. And that's why I'm doing this.
Well, and you have talked about a lot. We are going to delve into a number of issues you brought up. You talked about all the people coming across the border. Of course, a lot of families also coming across the border as well. I want to talk to you about that a little bit later on. But first, let's talk about the breaking news today. We learned just a short time ago that the president's son, Hunter Biden, was indicted by a federal grand jury on 3 gun charges. Given that, Mr. President, can you continue to say that there are 2 systems of justice?
Well, I think there's no question about it. He had a plea deal that was the deal of the century, the art of the deal. You could write a book on it, the art of the deal. And all of a sudden that was broken up by a judge who was able to, a brilliant judge actually, who was able to see through what was happening. And it's a sad situation. I mean, nobody should be happy about this. I'm not happy about it. Nobody is. It's a very sad thing. It's so bad for our country. But, you know, if you think about it, I've been under investigation from the day I came down the escalator, and a phony investigation, fake investigations, investigations that I beat every single time, still under investigations. But it's a very sad thing, and it's a slippery slope, and dangerous, very dangerous for our country.
But you talked about the plea deal, but now Hunter Biden's been indicted. He's facing very serious charges. So doesn't that undercut your entire argument that there are 2 systems of justice in this country?
It's one of 12 charges. There are 12 possible charges.
And he's still under investigation.
This is the only charge that doesn't affect his father.
Well, he's still under investigation.
Well, sure, maybe. I mean, let's see what happens. But this is the only charge that doesn't affect Joe Biden. This was the gun charge. But gun charges are very serious. You know, people have had gun charges and gone to jail for a lot of years. I pardoned some people who I thought it was just horrible what happened, but they were put in jail for many, many years, rappers and others. So, look, it's a bad thing. But it's one of 12. And it's the
He's trying to say the only thing that they're charging him on is an issue that, like, can't be tied back to Biden. That's what he's saying. He's complaining that, like, it's only the gun charge they're hitting him on because, like, he's claiming that there is, like, you know, a little bit of back and forth, maybe some wheeling and dealing happening with the prosecutors in the situation. Ironic because, like, the independent prosecutor is, like, a Trump appointee, but, you know.
Charge that doesn't affect Joe Biden.
Well, of course, there's no evidence that the president has any link to his son's business dealings. Let me ask you, though,
I don't
second.
necessarily agree. He called in. You mean he called in all these meetings? He was calling in on the meetings. He was put on speakerphone and every single day, and
the witness
literally
testified.
many calls. And what about the fact that he got rid of the prosecutor for $1 billion?
Well, the witness who testified.
You don't get rid of this prosecutor. We're not giving you $1 billion to Ukraine. He said that. I mean, there are a lot of things here.
Mr. President, the witness who testified, though, said that he never heard any discussion of business when President Biden was put on the phone.
Wait. You saw the prosecutor thing on television, because I saw it on your network. He said, you don't get rid of this prosecutor, I'm not giving $1 billion.
That was looked into as well. And as you know, there was never any wrongdoing.
If I ever said that, quid pro quo.
Huh. She should have asked him if he's going to pardon Hunter like he did Kodak. Yeah. I love how they reverse the prosecutor. Yeah, why doesn't anybody just go like, okay, if it was Hunter Biden that wanted this prosecutor gone, like why was Victor Shokin working, according to our research at least, with at the behest of the Burisma executives? Like why was he holding up an investigation, an international investigation into Burisma? Like, what's the answer there? Like, oh, well, he was too stupid. He didn't know what was in his best interest. He still wanted Victor Shokin fired.
Let's move on to what a second Trump term would look like.
No!
When you launched your campaign in March, you told
I will be at TwitchCon Vegas, of course.
Crowd, quote, I am your retribution. What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think retribution is talking in terms of I have to protect people. What they're doing to people is so horrible. They're talking in
Retribution.
Sorry.
In March, you told the crowd, quote, "I am your retribution." What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think retribution is talking in terms of I have to protect people. What they're doing to people is so horrible. They're putting people in jail for long periods of time. Firemen, policemen, accountants, even lawyers. They're in prisons for years now and don't even have trials in some cases. And if you look at Antifa and other groups, practically nothing happened to them. They burned down Portland. They burned down Minneapolis. They took over Seattle. I mean, they literally took over a big chunk of the city. People died and nothing happened to them. We have to protect all people.
Yeah. Trump is going to come back and Trump is going to come back and arrest everybody that he didn't get to arrest while he was president. You know, and also release all the people under his on his side. Oh God, it's so awesome, man. It's so sick. It's like literally everything is just the enemies are bad. When they do the same exact things, they're in the wrong. When my guys do it, they're in the right and need to be protected. It's pretty basic stuff. It's great. It's like cities were burning down. When my guys did it at the Capitol, very, very respectfully, they burned it down. And they got arrested for no reason.
But when you talk about retribution, are you talking about directing your attorney general to try to go after your political enemies?
When I talk about retribution, I'm talking about fairness. We have to treat people fairly. These people on January 6th, some of them never even went into the building, and they're being given sentences of, many years.
Are you going to pardon
and nothing
those
is
people who've been
happening?
convicted?
Well, I'm going to look at them, and I certainly might if I think it's appropriate. No, it's a very, very sad thing, and they're dividing the country so badly, and it's very dangerous.
Well, Mr. President, we're going to delve into that a little bit later on, but I want to stay on this idea of what you mean by retribution. Are you looking to appoint an attorney general who will prosecute the people you tell them to prosecute?
I'm looking to appoint an attorney general who's going to be tough on crime and fair. Very simple.
And go after your political enemies?
No, I would never do that. But Biden has done that. Look, Biden, these aren't indictments against me. These are Biden indictments. This isn't God coming down and very fairly said, Joe, you spoke badly about an election. The election was rigged. There's no question about that. There's so much proof on it. Even if you go to the more modern day proof with the, they call it Twitter files, FBI and Twitter, or you take a look at the Amazon stuff or the Google stuff, or you take a look at 2000 Mules, you take a look at all of the ballot stuffing that's on tape, you take a look at the fact that the legislatures didn't approve a lot of the things that were done in the elections and they had to approve. And we could go on forever. We could go on forever. But no, I want somebody that's going to be strong, respected, tough, and fair.
Just to go back to a couple of the points you said, the ballot stuffing, that's something that's been debunked.
It hasn't
As
been
you
debunked.
know,
it's on camera.
But I do want to keep moving forward.
Yeah, but
and of
Chris,
course,
it's on camera. Hundreds and even thousands and thousands of people. You take a look. True the vote. Take a look. It's on camera.
But Mr. President,
they have
you know,
thausands
Republican
of pictures.
officials
But
and
I know,
top
but
law
Kristen, you can't
enforcement
say it.
officials have
They
told
have
you that
thousands
that's
of pictures
debunked.
of people. I know you have to say that for your network, but you shouldn't say it. Because that's the problem.
But Mr.
The
President, that's
news
the
has
truth,
lost
and you've been
such
told that.
power.
Let's stay on track, though, Mr. President. Let's stay on
but
track
you're
with
saying
this question.
it hasn't. We have thousands of essentially motion pictures of people stuffing the ballot boxes.
But, Mr. President,
tens of thousands.
they're not stuffing the ballot boxes, and you've been told that by your top law enforcement officials. But let's stay on track because we have so much ground to cover.
You have
We
people that went
policy ground
and voted
to cover,
in one
Mr.
place,
President.
another place, another place. As many as I understand, 28 different places in one day with 7, 8, 9 ballots apiece. They can't do anymore because it would look too phony. These were professional people. They were stuffing the ballot boxes. It's It's there.
Mr.
I mean, it's there
You
to
took
see.
your
A lot
case
of people
to
don't
court,
like looking at
60
it.
different cases all across the country. You lost that, but let's stay on track.
We
because
lost
have
because the
so
judges
many-
didn't want to hear them.
Mr. President,
But
we have
if
so
this,
many
if
topics
this were ever before a court, we would win so easy. There is so much evidence that the election was rigged. And you may not even put the section on your show, and you'll have to decide what you want to do. But people know it was rigged. Look, the media,
Mr. President,
when I
there's
first
no
got
evidence
involved
of
in
that.
politics,
As you know, there's no evidence of that. We have so many different topics.
tremendous evidence.
I want to talk about what a
Listen,
potential.
I mean, this guy was the president. Like this bickering old man who's currently under, like, I mean, he's gonna go to court for like acting out on some of the false information that he's like still peddling. Okay, he was the fucking president. So when I hear stuff like that, when I see stuff like this, it comes as no shock to me that the American government has lost an F-35. You know, a $35 trillion program so far that barely flies and can't fly when it's like raining and shit. Okay? And now they lost one of them. Let's
Let
continue.
me ask you this.
Mr.
You agree
President.
there was Twitter files, right?
Mr. President,
You agree there were 51 intelligence agents that lied. You agree with
I'm
that?
not the one who's being interviewed. Let's
no,
stay
but-
on
I
track
know,
because
but
I want to talk about
that's rigging the
policy,
election.
because that's what voters want to hear about, Mr. President. Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill
Go ahead.
right now.
Go
Speaker
ahead.
McCarthy announced that he was launching an impeachment inquiry this week into President Biden. Do you see this as a part of the retribution that you seek?
No, not at all. I think, look, you look at the terrible things that have been happening with respect to Biden. Look at everything. Jamie Comer, Jim Jordan, who are fantastic people and very legitimate people. I watched Jamie Comer just a little while ago talking about a lot of different facets of what's going on. And he was the one that said, I guess there are 12 things where it looks like it's stone cold guilty. And the gun charge is only one of the 12. He said this is the only one that doesn't implicate Joe Biden.
So, but my question for you, did you talk to Speaker McCarthy about this House impeachment inquiry?
No,
Did
I don't
you
talk to him.
tell him that he should open a House
No,
impeachment
I don't do
inquiry?
that. I don't think he'd do that. I mean, he wouldn't do it based on me, no.
Did you
Not
talk to your Republican allies on Capitol Hill and say you should support this?
No, I
impeachment
don't have to
inquiry?
talk. They're more proactive than I am. They think it's terrible. I will say this. They think I was treated very unfairly. I mean, when I was impeached for a perfect phone call, and now it turned out to be perfect, I hope you will admit that at least, because I was right, 100% right. But I was impeached for a perfect phone call. And how sad that is. And we had 196 to nothing vote for Republicans. Very unusual for the Republican Party. I was so proud of them. 196, the entire House, not one person dissented. And then other than Romney, who sort of gave me half a vote, but we had 100% in the Senate. People think I was treated very unfairly.
Well, the people who
And I
voted
know I was
the
treated
people who
very
voted for that impeachment say that the phone call that you referenced was about a quid pro quo.
It was perfect.
But
my phone call was perfect. My phone call was saying, please investigate any crimes that you see. And by the way,
He's so back, dude. Come on. He's fucking back. His phone call was perfect, dude. He's right. Why are y'all chirping? Fucking most perfect phone call. Okay? Get the fuck out of here.
I'm mandated to do that as the president of the United States. And it was really a call to congratulate him on winning the election. But
Anyway, let's continue.
Mr. President, let's
no, when you talk about quid pro quo, please don't talk about quid pro quo, because there was none in the call at all. Where there's
That
a
was
quid
the
pro,
heart- what
where
I'm
there
saying
is
is
a
that was the
quid
heart
pro
of
quo
that impeachment.
was when Biden said very strongly, we're not going to give them the $1 billion unless they get rid of the prosecutor. That's
Yeah, they did. So that's a really interesting take from Donald Trump, because Biden didn't do that in a private conversation that he didn't think that everyone would hear. He did it in broad daylight. Now, do you guys know why Biden did that in broad daylight? Like openly went to Ukraine and said, we're going to withhold aid. Well, not necessarily aid, but loans Because he doesn't have the fucking power single-handedly to do that as the vice president because the World Bank and the IMF wanted the fucking prosecutor removed, okay? It was not specifically because Biden was like, oh, give me some information about my possible political opponent coming up in the next election, Jack. No, he was like, fire Victor Shokin, he's corrupt. That's it. He said, fire Victor Shokin, he's corrupt. This is not just my opinion. This is the opinion of the IMF and the World Bank. They're not going to give you loans anymore. Okay? That's it. And not only that, but also Republicans in fucking Congress were also advocating for that. There was a bipartisan letter signed, as we saw in 2016, I think.
A quid pro quo.
Mr. President, let me take a step back here because a lot of voters say what they want to talk about right now is your vision for the future.
Sure.
And I've been traveling to a lot of the early voting states, and they say that your focus on the past is a problem for them. What do you say to those voters?
I have no focus on the past, except that you have to learn from history. You have to learn from the past. We had an election that was very, very terrible. It was a terrible thing for our country. And you have to learn from that. You can't forget that and just go. Now, with all of the things that we said, I had the best economy maybe in history.
We're going to talk about it next.
Right.
So let's stay
I had the best economy in history, and I'm going to do it again.
He's like, we can't keep focusing on the past. I had the best economy in history. You got to learn from that.
Again, I had the best energy. We were energy independent, soon to be energy dominant. Now we're begging for energy. I mean, what they've done to this country, they're destroying our country.
We're going to talk about the economy in just a minute. But before we move on from Capitol Hill, do you think Republican hardliners should abandon their threat to shut down the government over their spending priorities now that there is this impeachment?
No, I think if they don't get a fair deal, we have to save our country. We have $35 trillion in debt. We have to save our country.
So you would shut down the government? You'd support that?
I'd shut down the government if they can't make an appropriate deal. Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about the economy.
No, the fuck he wouldn't. You would never do that if you were president. That's so stupid. Like, no president would be like, yeah, I'll own it. I'll take the L. Get the fuck out of here. It's so dumb. But again, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same fucking the same ridiculous lie that he's like, I would pull out of Afghanistan, but I would do it right. Okay? It's like, okay, well, you know, you didn't, so we have no way of knowing, I guess.
And I want to start by talking about this big standoff between the auto workers and the big three auto manufacturers. Yeah. My question for you, Mr. President, whose side are you on in this?
I'm on the side of making our country great. The auto workers are not going to have any jobs when you come right down to it, because if you take a look at what they're doing with electric cars are going to be made in China. The auto workers are not going to have any. I'll tell you what, the auto workers are being sold down the river by their leadership, and their leadership should endorse Trump. The reason is, you got to have choice. Like in school, I want school choice. I also want choice for cars. If somebody wants gasoline, if somebody wants all electric, they can do whatever they want. But they're destroying the consumer, and they're destroying the auto workers. The auto workers will not have any jobs, Kristen, because all of these cars are going to be made in China. The electric cars automatically are going to be made in China.
So let's talk about UAW's leadership.
So this is his pivot. Listen. This is an important pivot because, like, we watched Tim Scott try to talk about the labor union activity happening at UAW Big Three auto manufacturers right now, and he literally was like, I mean, I don't know why I'm doing a Trump voice. He basically fucking was like, nobody wants to work anymore, okay? That is not a good take. But Trump is a Republican, so he can't openly be like super fucking pro-union, right? Like, but he also is a populist, so he has to be pro-union. Like, he has to be pro-labor force while simultaneously not saying that he's like pro-union, pro-labor force. These big three need to cave to the fucking demands that the union is making. You can't say that as a Republican. So he's in this like weird bind. Okay. When you look at like the actual normal Republicans, they just straight up will be like, yeah, fuck these unions, okay? Like they're pieces of shit. That's a holdover from the old Republican, the old Republican party. I love him being like, union leadership sucks. Also, they should endorse me. But he is also not pro-labor because he mistreated all labor that worked for him. Okay, that's a given. He's a billionaire real estate developer. Donald Trump has never been pro-labor in his own personal life, in his private affairs. Donald Trump is a notorious fucker over of contractors, okay? Obviously, he doesn't like labor. He's never been pro-labor. You're the biggest fucking idiot if you think that Donald Trump has ever been pro-labor. My point is, Trump got 48% of rank and file union votes in 2020. Is that true for Trump? And unions, especially building trade support for president, remains solid despite the efforts of labor leaders to convince members otherwise. Okay, this is. Okay, give me numbers. Where union voters have a sizable impact, roughly 1 in 6 voters nationwide is either a union member or comes from a union household. God, America is so stupid. I guess police unions are a part of this number, maybe. If that's the case, then that makes sense. Among members of the North America's building trades unions, there is a dead heat in swing states, with Biden receiving 48% of the vote and Trump 47%.
President Sean Fain has withheld his endorsement of President Biden, but this is what he had to say about you. Quote, another Donald Trump presidency would be a disaster. How would you win that endorsement?
Well, if that's the case, I probably won't win his. I don't know the gentleman, but I know his name very well. And I think he's not doing a good job in representing his union, because he's not going to have a union in 3 years from now. Those jobs are all going to be gone because all of those electric.
See, that's literally fucking, it's over. It's Jover. Okay? Yeah, go ahead. Play this line in any fucking Michigan shop, dude. Get the fuck out of here, okay? Leftist like Shabby Shab said labor unions are racist. Oh, you mean Ben Shapiro. Woo! I didn't even see this part.
Cars are going to be made in China. That's what's happening. Number one. Number two, the electric cars are much more expensive and they don't go far enough. So if somebody wants to take a little bit of a long, just like the trucks, if somebody wants to take a little bit of a long ride, let's go to Maine or let's go to Kentucky from New York. You can't do it. I mean, you have to stop all the time. They don't go far enough. They're very expensive. They have a lot of drawbacks. Now, with that being said, some people are going to want them. Some people are going to travel.
No, I think they mean RBN, Sabby Sabs. I have no idea who the fuck
short
that
distances. What they're doing with our trucking industry is a disaster because they want all electric trucks. And a truck on with a large tank, large gasoline or diesel capacity can go up to 2,000 miles. An electric truck goes 300 miles. So what are these guys going to do? They're going to stop every 300 miles and recharge their truck and spend 3 hours?
Let's move on and talk about another big picture issue when it comes to the economy. The issue of interest rates, inflation, something that you've talked a lot about.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve is obviously independent, but I wonder, Mr. President, if you are re-elected, would you direct your Federal Reserve chair to lower interest rates?
Well, you know that I put a lot of pressure on him. It was outside pressure because nobody knows whether or not you can really do that, but I did because I thought his interest rates were too high, and he ultimately dropped his interest rates. The same gentleman, as you know. But it was a lot of pressure. I mean, I was very active on that. Right now, interest rates are very high. They're too high. People can't buy homes. They can't do anything. I mean, they can't borrow money. The banks don't have the money. The banks aren't lending the money. The banks, by the way, Chase Manhattan Bank, Bank of America, they discriminate against conservatives. It's a disgrace, and they
the real banking discrimination is happening against conservatives, okay? Yeah. Not black people, not the Latin population.
shouldn't be allowed to, and I'm going to do something about that. But you take a look at banks throughout the country, and I think because of the regulators.
One thing that I love that I wish the Democrats would do more of is like, just say you're going to do government intervention. Like, this is something that you have to recognize with Donald Trump. He says he is going to do government intervention. Yeah, too, Mom. İki. Bir tane de küçük at peki. Trump openly fucking says all the time that he is just going to do government intervention. Now, is he going to actually do it? Fuck no. Of course he's not going to do it. Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, is too stupid to realize that you're not supposed to use government intervention to actually, hurt the bottom line of corporations, because America is supposed to be pro corporations. But like, he does such a good job of just saying he's going to do it. Like, it's great. It's great. Like, yeah, I'm going to go after banks. I'm going to regulate banks. Oh, so sick. It's so sick. I'm going to go after the banks because they're discriminating against conservatives, okay? It's awesome. Why doesn't Brandon do it? I wish Brandon would do it. I wish Brandon would actually do it, for the record. I wish he would actually regulate.
But you take a look at Bank of America and Chase, they discriminate against conservatives.
What's
and
the
Republicans.
Evidence for that, Mr. President?
Oh, we'll give you plenty of evidence.
Okay, all right. Well, let's stay on track with this question.
He said, we'll give you plenty of evidence to that. That means, in Trump terms, that means no evidence, okay?
So just to be very clear, if you were reelected, would you direct your Fed chair to lower interest rates?
Depends. It depends.
You
Depends
might.
where inflation is. But I would get inflation down, because drill we must. We will be drilling for oil. We are going to become, again, energy independent. We are going to reduce our debt, because we're also going to become energy dominant. We were ready to go dominant within a matter of months. We would have been making so much money. We have more oil, I call it liquid gold, under our feet than any other country, Saudi Arabia, Russia. And there's no country with more, and it's sweet. It's the finest. We have the best. We're taking it from Venezuela. You know what it is? Tar. It's the worst.
Mr. President, are you going to appoint a new Fed chair if you're reelected?
Well,
Actual truth about oil. I mean, the best is Saudi liquid gold. Like, I don't think America's like crude oil is as good as Saudi Arabia. That's like kind of the reason why we love Saudi Arabia, don't we, folks? He did say it's sweet. You think he tasted the oil? No, he did not.
I guess he would have 2 years left or something like that. So we'll see. But,
Okay. All right.
the word jaw.
Yeah, Saudi oil is easy to get. American oil, not as easy.
Boning. I did a lot of jawboning against him, and he ultimately lowered interest rates. We had
What the fuck is he saying?
low
What?
or something like.
Appoint a new Fed chair if you're reelected?
Well, I guess he would have 2 years left or something like that. So we'll see. But,
Okay. All right.
the word jawboning. I did a lot of jawboning against him, and he ultimately lowered interest rates. We had low interest rates. We had the best housing market ever. We had people buying homes. Today, people can't buy homes.
Economists are looking at some of the figures right now. The fact that the unemployment rate is at 3.8%.
And he's a net exporter of oil, but they're also cutting production to prop up prices in cooperation with OPEC Plus. Yet more price fixing is caused by the de facto oligopoly. I mean, Brandon couldn't even get them to fucking increase oil output, like oil production, during the OPEC situation as a way to counter against like OPEC, the cartel.
And they say it looks like the U.S. may not dip into a recession. What do you make of that assessment?
Oh, I don't know. People are going to, they say that, and then you end up in a depression. They say you're going to do great, you end up bad, and the opposite. Most of them don't know what they're doing. It's a touch, it's a feel. And I predicted a lot of markets. I predicted a lot of things, frankly. They say Trump was right about everything. I think that the way it's going now, you're going to have to, things are not going right now very well for the consumer. Bacon is up 5 times. Food is up horribly, worse than energy. Energy is starting to go up at a level that we haven't seen in a long time. meaning a couple of years since he took over, because I had energy prices very low. I had gasoline very low.
He's got the epic
We have
bacon
to get
vote.
the energy
Soy.
down, which they will never do. And they kept it artificial because they took the strategic reserves, which I had a lot to do with filling up for the first time ever. They took these strategic reserves and he issued it to everybody so that he could keep the gas prices down. Now, strategic reserves are at the lowest level they've ever been at, and we need that for war.
And there are a lot of factors that have contributed to
Well, no, the big factor is the fact that he took that oil.
Let's talk about taxes.
He took that and he wanted to have low gas prices for an election. And now we have nothing left.
Mr. President, there are a lot of factors, including global factors, that went into that. Let's talk about taxes, though.
I don't know why people stick up for him so much when he makes bad decisions like you. I don't know why, and I have a lot of respect for you, and you were very fair in the debate. But I don't know why you and other people say, oh, it's okay that he destroyed the strategic petroleum reserves. I mean, why do you do that? Or it's okay that he has open borders. Somebody was in your position, not quite as good, said this morning, oh, having open borders is a wonderful thing. I don't know why, and I think that's why the media has lost so much credibility.
Mr. President, we're just having a conversation. Let me talk to you about taxes and your differences with President Biden over taxes.
Sure.
He wants to raise corporate tax rates to 28%. It's reported you want to lower them to 15%. Is that true?
I'd like to lower them a little bit if we could, but what I want to do is we have to get some income coming in. You know, when I lowered taxes, we took in more revenue.
To 15%, Mr.
You know
President?
that when it depends on where we are at the time. You know, a lot happens in a year. But when I lower...
Did you just say we want lower taxes? I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Anne bana bir tane daha harissa verir misin? Bu bitmiş. Zero. Corporations are not people unless they are voting with their dollars, in which case they are people and their dollars are speech. But corporations are not people when they're, paying taxes. So they should pay 0%. Negative taxes? I mean, that already exists. We already have negative taxes. It's called subsidies, dog.
Lower taxes. I cut taxes tremendously, created tremendous jobs. But more importantly, we had more revenue with lower taxes than we did with higher taxes.
You also added $8 trillion to the national debt. Your GOP challenger, Nikki Haley, made that point, saying, quote, the truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Republicans did this to us. Does she have a point?
We had a thing happen to us. We had the greatest economy in history, and then we got hit with COVID. And we had to keep this beautiful thing going. And if I didn't do that, if we didn't put some money in, nobody knew what COVID was.
Yeah, that's not where that's coming from, dog. Talking about the tax cuts that you were just flaunting. The other side of it is not the problem here.
Because remember, this was a new thing that came in. Somebody said it's dust coming in from China. It came from China. They tried and denied it, or they tried for a little while, and we didn't let it. It came from Wuhan, actually, which now they agree. Everybody's now agreeing that it came from Wuhan. I said that years ago. But we had to do things that were very severe. We had to let some money come out. We were on the verge of doing.
Bro, who didn't think it was coming from Wuhan? Like, what?
Something that was amazing. We were going to have energy at a level bigger than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. That energy was going to be sold to Europe and all other places. The prices would have come down. We were going to make a fortune, and we were going to start paying off debt. Instead, we got hit with COVID. People didn't need oil because nobody was driving all over the world. I mean, frankly, it was a disaster. What China did to the world with COVID is something that we're going to get to the bottom of, and they have to pay something back. You know, nobody can pay back the cost of all those lives and all the money that was lost, but nobody can pay back the lives and all of the damage that was caused, including China. But you know what? They have to pay something back.
To Nikki Haley's key argument, though. What do you say to her?
What does Nikki Haley know? I mean, I know Nikki Haley very well. She said, I'm the greatest president. She left, she said, I'm the greatest president. Now she's running for office and she says something. Look, Nikki Haley doesn't know anything about it. She's a politician. She knows nothing about it. Very nice woman. Some people like that, I would say. But she left office. She said very strongly, I will never
What does Nikki Haley know?
he was a great president, and then in some cases said the greatest
That was
president
awesome.
of my lifetime. In one case, said the greatest president ever. Now she's running. Nikki Haley has nothing to do with this. We were going to make a fortune off our energy. We were going to send the energy to Europe. Europe was going to pay us tremendous amounts of money. And I'll tell you, you would have never had the Ukraine monster at all. It would have never happened. Russia would have never got, just by sheer force of personality. But beyond personality, what happened is when oil hit $100 a barrel, and by the way, it's right there right now again, Putin makes a fortune on this war. You know, everybody said, oh, he can't afford it. If Biden allowed my policies to stay in place, oil would right now be at $40 a barrel, and Putin wouldn't be able to afford the war.
We are going to get to the war in Ukraine, but first I do want to talk about the issue of abortion, which is important to a lot of voters all across the country. Just this week, women in Idaho and Tennessee, I don't know if you saw this, filed suit against their state saying their lives were put at risk after they were denied abortion services because their state's restrictive laws put in place after Roe was overturned. So my question for you, Mr. President, is how is it acceptable in America that women's lives are at risk, doctors are being forced to turn away patients in need, or risk breaking the law?
Ready? A little bit of a long answer. I hope you have time.
I hope you have time. I'm here for as long as you have.
So you have Roe v. Wade. For 52 years, people, including Democrats, wanted it to go back to states so that states could make the right. Roe v. Wade,
I'm going to die. Democrats wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade to allow states to make decisions on abortion is the best. Oh, I love that. God, that's such a stupid argument. It's such a big bind for Donald Trump. Like, there's nothing he can do in this situation.
did something that nobody thought was possible, and Roe v. Wade was terminated, was put back to the states. Now, people, pro-lifers, have the right to negotiate for the first time. They had no rights at all. Because the radical people on this are really the people, the Democrats, that say after 5 months, 6 months...
Wait, I don't get it. So are you saying you made it easy? Wait, even that doesn't make sense. Because now he's saying he gave Democrats the power to fucking make abortion like totally permissible at 9 months and change. He's like, you know, Democrats wanted abortion at 10 months, folks. They wanted abortion after birth. I gave it to them. That's what they wanted. Believe me.
7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and even after birth, you're allowed to terminate the baby.
Democrats aren't saying that. I just have to. Democrats are not saying that.
Of course
That's
they do.
not true.
You have a Virginia governor, previous governor, who said after the baby is born, you will make a determination, and if you want, you will kill that baby.
But
the
Mr.
baby
President,
is now born.
Democrats writ large are not talking about that. Only 1% of late-term abortions happen in always in the state of
They are
crisis.
the radical people because nobody wants to see abortion after 5 months and 6 months and 7 months. And now it's going to, it gave people that believe.
No, that's poor showing. That's poor showmanship from MSNBC. And normally I would say their incompetence is by design, but this is not an issue that they need to be incompetent on because it's a deeply unpopular one. Now, you have to be better. You have to be better at countering this. No, sorry. You have to demonstrate competence in this situation. There is no material reason for you not to. Normally, I would say, they're deliberately, by design, not offering pushback. She's just doing a bad fucking job here. And I think the counter in this situation is, I know people in the chat are saying, oh, I'm surprised she even delivered any pushback at all. I know. Okay? I know that we have low expectations. I get it. But this is one area where, no. especially as a woman too, you literally could have easily been like, what are you talking about? What you're saying is incorrect. It's simply incorrect, okay? The governor you're pointing to is not like, that's not a real quote from the governor. Infanticide, like murdering a child, is what you're describing. It's illegal in every state of the United States of America, okay? You have to be very clear. She was like, oh, that's only 1%, and it only happens, it only happens where, you know, there's like issues, health complications. It's like, no, be clear. That quote is not real. It's not a real quote. You're just lying. You're lying right now. You Weasley little liar. Only some Democrats want to kill babies. Exactly. That's like a fucking stupid counter.
And pro-life, look, just so you understand, it's pretty much 50-50. It's a 50-50 issue. Amazing. If you look at the charts, it's been 49-51. It's been like that for many years. Goes both ways.
No, it's not!
51, both ways. Ready? I was able to do something which gave at least pro-life people a voice. Now it's going to work out. Now, the number of months
No,
will
it's
be
not! Fuck! It's not! That's why you can't even fucking stand on top of a fucking mountaintop and be like, I did this. Because if it was 50-50 and you know how to read the fucking room, you would not be pussyfooting around it. Like, oh, I just gave people the right to choose. That's what I did. I'm pro-choice. Fuck you. You know the shit's unpopular. You fucking know it. That's why you're trying to triangulate around it. Because on the one hand, you want to fucking claim ownership over this thing, but you, just like everybody else that, you know, follows this shit, recognizes the pain that it fucking caused for a tiny, minuscule percentage of the Republican voter base. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. I hate that she's not saying that, though. 50-50 my ass. Suck my fucking cock. Are you out of your fucking mind? 50-50 what? This issue has never been 50-50. It's not even 50-50 in red states, okay? Republicans get abortions too. If it was 50-50, Trump would be fucking literally taking his dick out and waving it, okay? And he wouldn't even... I hate the media so much. I hate the media more than I hate Donald Trump in this regard because they are the fucking demon, pedophile, vampire, interdimensional pieces of shit that have continued this like, oh, it's a contentious debate narrative when there's no contention. None whatsoever. Fuck you. It's so fucking annoying. You watch NPR, you watch the New York Times, they're always like, oh, we asked the Family Crisis Pregnancy Kidnapping Center of Mormons what they think. Here is a guy who makes $250,000 representing the Pro-Pedophilia Only for Catholicism Institute. And it's like, why? Why are you asking him this? His job is to go on NPR and act like this is a divisive issue when it's not a fucking divisive issue. Fuck you. Suck my fucking cock. There is not a single fucking place in the United States of America where being anti-abortion is a popular fucking idea. It's not the case. They're fucking lying. Jesus Christ, dude. It's like the most deliberate form of propaganda, the endless need to make it seem like this is a divisive issue when it's not a divisive issue.
Can you
and you're going to
answer
have
this
something where
question?
everybody comes together.
Does it bother?
No! Hold him to account. He said 50-50. Ask him why, if it's 50-50, that he's like tiptoeing around his major accomplishment. Fucking hell, dude. Hey,
you,
fuck
though,
this.
that women say their lives are being put at risk. Do you feel you bear any responsibility? Because as you say, you are responsible.
What's going to happen, this is an issue that's been going on for a long time, and it's a very polarizing issue. Because of what's been done and because of the fact we brought it back to the states, we're going to have people come together on this issue. They're going to determine the time, because nobody wants to see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Nobody wants to see abortions when you have a baby in the womb. I said with Hillary Clinton when we had the debate, I made a statement.
Yeah.
Rip the baby.
Exactly. Exactly. Nobody wants to see abortions is the real fucking take, okay? If abortion is murder, murder is murder. There is no like, oh, well, it's murder only after 5 months or whatever. Fuck you. 90% of abortions happen at the first trimester, okay? They happen at the first trimester in every fucking state. It happens at the first goddamn trimester. Suck my fucking cock. You made it literally illegal. You allowed states to decriminalize abortion. And by the way, not only did states you allowed states to criminalize abortion, sorry. Not only did they do that, but also in states where it was put on the ballot, like in fucking Kentucky, okay, the people overwhelmingly voted in support of abortion access. And yet, Daniel Cameron, Mitch McConnell's very own attorney general, still chose to prosecute abortions as though it's criminal. It's fucking insane. It happened in Kansas. It happened in Kentucky. It happened all around the fucking country. Because Americans are pro allowing people the right to choose, okay? It's bullshit, dude. No, it's fucking bullshit.
Out of the womb in the 9th month. You're allowed to do that, and you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Again, no one is
again,
arguing
listen,
for that. That's
look,
not a part of anyone's platform, Mr.
The
President.
Democrats are able to kill the baby after birth.
Let me talk to you.
Nobody wants that.
Democrats don't want that
So
either.
we're going to come together.
I want to know what you...
I want to do a post-mortem version on someone that is, you know. Anyway, I'm not going to say anything further. Okay, I'm back in it. Now I can't even fucking laugh at Donald Trump. I'm so pissed off. I hate this shit so much. This is like, oh, it's so frustrating. Just fucking say he's lying, okay? Say he's lying. Meet the press, okay? Meet it. Meet the press. It's not meet the president's dick in your fucking mouth, okay? It's meet the press. Be the press. Do the press thing, okay? Press him. It's so fucking frustrating, dude. What are you doing? I hate it. This is so unimaginably nutty because it's such a black and white issue in a sea of contradictions where there is never something so clear cut. Okay? Americans are fucking stupid. We can't agree on anything. This is the one issue that we fucking agree on. Fuck.
You want. I want to know what you're going to do if you're
We are going to come
Would you sign
together.
federal legislation that would ban abortion at 15 weeks?
No, let me just tell you what I do. I'm going to come together with all groups, and we're going to have something that's acceptable. Right now, to my way of thinking, the Democrats are the radicals, because after 4 and 5 and 6 months, but you have to say this, after birth. You have New York State and other places that pass legislation where you're allowed to kill the baby after birth.
Mr. President, I want to give voters who are going to be weighing in on this election a very clear sense of where you stand on this.
I think they're all going to like me. I think both sides are going to like me.
What's going
to have to happen is you're going to have
By the way, this is him literally trying to argue like he did last time. This is how he won last time. So it's like classic. He's doing the same thing. This is MAGA 2.0. Okay? It's over. You were the president. Your decisions and your actions and your appointments created the new environment that we're in. And he's still like, oh no, Democrats want to kill the baby. They want to kill the baby. They want to kill the baby. It's like, dog, we moved beyond that. We're doing ectopic pregnancies or killing the fucking carrier. Okay? That's where we're at. Oh, man. He needs new talking points. He can't. He can do nothing on this. You want to know something really sad for the Republican Party? At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. It's really sad for everybody, not just the Republican Party. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Okay? Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Okay. What's really sad for the Republican Party's state of affairs, okay? Let me tell you something. What's really sad about the situation is that this is the best messaging they have. It only gets worse. It only gets worse from this point on. Donald Trump tries to say, oh, well, we need to have a conversation, states' rights. And he tries to hand wave away the abortion conversation. The rest of them, with the exception of Nikki Haley, literally either have implemented really strict regulation in their states like Ron DeSantis, or Mike Pence, who advocates for a federal ban on abortion. So it goes way worse than this. At least on the messaging front, Donald Trump is the only one who's like recognizing, other than Nikki Haley, that this is a major problem for the Republican Party's future. Okay? But it's only a major problem if the liberal institutional Democrats and the liberal media, mainstream media, actually fucking hold them accountable. If you let them hand wave away and go, oh, well, you know, Democrats want to kill the baby, like shit like that. If you don't shove that fucking rhetoric back down his gullet, then what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? You're not doing your job, and you're misinforming the American public. It's so fucking annoying.
This question,
Listen,
please.
You're asking me a question. What's going to happen is you're going to come up with a number of weeks or months. You're going to come up with a number that's going to make people happy, because 92% of the Democrats don't want to see abortion after a certain period of time.
If a federal ban landed on your desk, if you were reelected, would you sign it at 15
Are you
weeks?
talking about a complete ban?
A ban at 15 weeks?
Well, people are starting to think of 15 weeks. That seems to be a number that people are talking about right now.
Would you sign that?
I would sit down with both sides and I'd negotiate something, and we'll end up with peace on that issue for the first time in 52 years. I'm not going to say I would or I wouldn't. I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that
I
goes
think what
too
he
far?
did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake. But we'll come up with a number. But at the same time, Democrats won't be able to go out in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months and allow an abortion. And Kristen, you have to look at this because you said no.
He's right.
You have some states.
He's right. He said what DeSantis is a terrible job. Now, that's great because on the one hand, he can say that now because it gets the shit on Ron DeSantis. And on the other hand, he can literally look like the moderate, reasonable one in comparison to Ron DeSantis.
States that are allowed to kill the child after birth, and you can't allow that.
But, Mr. President, again, no one is calling for a child to be killed after birth. No one's calling for that.
But you
to
have
be allowed.
legislation.
But let me just ask
Kristen,
you.
you have legislation in certain states where it's allowed.
Mr. President.
The governor of Virginia, previous governor.
It's illegal in every state. It's illegal in every state. It's illegal in every state. It's bullshit.
Who was
Previous
a whack job.
governor.
I call him the Michael Jackson governor.
No one's talking
that
about that as
governor,
part of their platform. I want to know what
excuse me, that
you
governor
want.
said you can kill the baby after birth.
But, Mr. President, this is about what you would do if you were reelected. As you know, you upset
We
some
will agree to a number of weeks, which will be where both sides will be happy. We have to bring the country together on this issue.
Mr. President, when you talk about negotiating, I think a lot of people think to themselves, this is an issue that they care about deeply
care about it
in
too.
their hearts.
Oh, I care
and they
about it
know
too.
where they stand, and they want to know where you stand. As you know, some anti-abortion groups are really looking for some clarity from you. So let me just ask you to put a fine point on this. Should the federal government impose any abortion restrictions, or should it be completely left up to the states?
No, I don't think you should be allowed to have abortions well into a pregnancy.
But what about the question I just asked
you? No, we're going to agree to a number of weeks or months or however you want to define it. And both sides are going to come together. And both sides, and this is a big statement, both sides will come together. And for the first time in 52 years, you'll have an issue that we can put behind us.
At the federal level?
Bro, that's such a crazy take because it's like, if this was such a contentious issue where there are two different sides of this debate, then like Amy COVID Barrett wouldn't have had to lie in a congressional hearing. And Brett Kavanaugh wouldn't have had to lie in a congressional hearing that they will not overturn Roe v. Wade. Like, why did they choose to lie about it then? And said they were like, oh, this is all settled. We're not touching that. I don't get it. I thought it was not settled. I thought it was not, you know. I thought it was so contentious that Amy COVID Barrett was like, oh, we'll never touch it.
It could be state or it could be federal. I don't frankly care.
So you're not committed to a ban at the federal
I will say
level.
this. Everybody, including the great legal scholars, love the idea of Roe v. Wade terminated so it be brought back to the states.
It sounds like that's what you think, too, that
Well,
it should remain a state issue.
I would say this. From a pure standpoint, from a legal standpoint, I think it's probably better, but I can live with it either way. It's much more important. The number of weeks is much more important. But something will happen with the number of weeks, the amount of time.
He doesn't look strong on this, though, which is kind of interesting because being non-committal to the thing that you did while simultaneously, trying to, I think being non-committal to the thing that you literally helped accomplish is going to look weak on both ends, I think. Like for the anti-abortion crowd, the pro-lifers, they're going to look at this and go like, what is he trying to say? We want a fucking federal ban. Fuck you. And to the pro-choice crowd, he's already the devil, so I don't think they're gonna think he's like actually fucking in support of like reasonable legislation.
Time after which you can't do it. And you know what? The most powerful people that are anti-abortion are okay with that now. And you know what? They weren't okay with that even a year ago.
Your former Vice President, Mike Pence, believes that a fetus should have constitutional rights. Do you believe that, Mr.
Well,
President?
Mike Pence said something about 15 weeks, too, which was a big change for Mike Pence because Mike Pence had no exceptions. I have exceptions, by the way. I think people should have exceptions. I think if it's rape or incest or the life of the mother, I think you have to have exceptions.
Does a fetus have constitutional rights, Mr. President?
And a lot of people, when they don't have exceptions. Now, I will tell you that I think most people, most Republicans are willing. You go life of the mother, rape, incest. I think most of them are there.
But should a fetus
big
have
statement.
constitutional rights, Mr. President?
Well, I don't know.
I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Bro, if this sticks and people are just like repeating that Trump actually just wanted an argument, he just wanted a discussion around abortion, and like Republicans start championing this, I will die. I will cease to exist because I will go for a service weapon. You know what I mean? Like I like the first one that I land my eyes on, okay? I will perish. Like, this is such a fucking stupid, exceptionally stupid fucking argument to make. Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord.
I don't know what he's saying because before he wanted, you couldn't have abortion.
But what
at all.
are you saying?
Now all of a
What do
sudden,
you think?
excuse me. Now all of a sudden he's saying 15 weeks. I said, wow, where did that come from? That's a radical change. Look, something is going to happen.
Look how much certainty he has when speaking out against further restrictions on abortion. Like, he literally is like, no, that's crazy. But when asked, like, okay, what's your point? Why did you do this? He's like, oh, well, I didn't do it. I wanted a conversation around it. It's like, it was 50-50. It's like, no, it wasn't. Fuck you. And if you thought it was 50-50, you'd be defending it. Your support is like always been, your approval rating was always 30%. You made it seem like it was 100%. You know what I mean? It would never stop.
that's going to be good for everybody. And that's what I'm almost like a mediator in this case. They wanted Roe v. Wade terminated because it was inappropriate. We got it done. Something's going to happen. It's going to be a number of weeks. Something's going to happen where both sides are going to be able to come together. And then we'll be able to go into other things like the economy, our military.
Are you saying a federal ban with exceptions? Is that what you're saying?
What I say is very simple, because you can't put words in my mouth like that.
I
Because
just
you've been
wanna
hearing me talk
understand.
about this issue, and
Yeah.
I think talk about it very productively. It could be a state ban. It could be a federal ban. But
Yeah, this is real bad for him. Like, real bad. Actually, unironically, real bad. It's just like, it was going to be bad for everybody. And I've been wondering what his, like, counter was going to be, because he's the guy who is the best at reading the fucking room. And sometimes you can be good at reading the room, but the room is still booing at you. You know what I mean? He's stuck in a fucking bind, you know? With not much to do. How much do the evangelicals care? Brother, you think evangelicals are enough to make you president? If that was the case, Trump would have been president. Outside of, like, super fucking Christian fundamentalists, which make up 30% of the population, 25% to 30% of the population, no one in the United States of America is like, yeah, you should literally not let people get abortions. Like, we should criminalize it. No one. It's not a real thing. Think about it this way, okay? Abortion in general happens in the first trimester, especially so, right? Do you know that many people that are like, no, abortion is murder, actually, across the board? And if you know that many people, like, have you ever had conversations with them where they, like, explain their fucking opinions? Now think about how many people you know that literally think, like, no, fucking let people get abortions, like, shut the fuck up. You say, yes, my entire family, but statistically speaking, it is significantly less likely to come up with a person that is anti-abortion, even in red states, and it is pro-abortion. Not even in the state of Florida. You're wrong. People are saying state of Florida. That's not true. No. Absolutely not. You have to be in a hyper-religious fucking space in order for people to have this kind of take on abortion. It's not represented by the public. It has never been represented by the public. Republicans still get abortions. Like, it's just fucking nuts.
Democrats want that too. Democrats don't want to see abortion in the 7th month. Okay, I speak to a lot of Democrats. They want a number. There is a number, and there's a number that's going to be agreed to. And Republicans should go out and say the following, because I think the Republicans speak very inarticulately about this subject. I watched some of them without the exceptions, et cetera, et cetera. I said,
yeah, without the exception of fucking Nikki Haley, who he can't say by name now because he just shit on her and said, she's a politician. What does she know? That's the only fucking person that, like, speaks on abortion in a way that, like, makes sense.
Other than certain parts of the country, you're not going to win on this issue, but you will win on this issue.
There's a lot of people who think, like, it's not up to me. Why should it be up to me? I should have no say on this. The government should not interfere in my affairs. Okay? Not a contentious issue.
When you come up with the right number of weeks, because Democrats don't want to be radical on the issue. Most of them, some do. They don't want to be radical on the issue. They don't want to kill a baby in the 7th month or the 9th month or after birth. And they're allowed to do that, and you can't do that.
I have a very robust foreign policy section to get to.
Okay.
I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of your legal challenges. So if we could do that first, and then we'll move on to foreign policy. You are facing 4 indictments.
Biden indictment. indictments, excuse me, Biden political indictments. He said to the Attorney General,
he's had nothing to do with it.
He said to the
There's no
Attorney
proof of
General,
that.
indict him. They put in the
there's
New
no
York
proof of
DA
that,
case,
Mr.
which
President.
everybody admits
There's no
isn't even a
proof of
case.
that, Mr.
Excuse me.
President.
They're Biden
there's
indictments.
no proof of that.
You know what? He started something that's a very slippery slope. He said, I've got a guy that's beating me in the polls. I'm beating all the Republicans by a lot, and I'm beating him by a lot. I have somebody that's beating me in the polls. Indict him. And they, not only that, they took their top person in the Department of Justice and put him into the Manhattan DA's office. They're dealing with Fannie Willis all the time.
Mr. President,
These
the
are
Attorney
political
General
indictments.
appointed a special counsel to investigate you, President Biden, and President Biden's son, Hunter, who was also indicted today. But I do want to
President Biden
move...
does not fall within the Presidential Records Act. And frankly, you don't ever hear anything about the special counsel. But they gave me this deranged person named Jack Smith. He's a deranged lunatic. I fall within the Presidential Records Act. It's very simple. It's a civil thing. In fact, the New York Times, of all institutions, did a story, and it was headlined, "Please, please, please, Mr. President, could we take a look at the documents?" And they said in the story that the only way you can get documents from a president is if you go there and say please, because this is civil. And they won't even have a lawsuit. They may have a civil lawsuit at most, but they probably don't even have a civil lawsuit. And this should...
Again, it's really funny because Trump is the reason why those the crime that he committed has a worse offense because of his own actions. In an effort to make it seem like he gave a shit about Hillary Clinton's documents without actually arresting him, he literally made the misdemeanor a felony.
It never have been an indictment. There's no criminal. Now, there is criminal for Joe Biden because he was a senator.
This is my favorite argument. It's like, what I did is not allowed. What I did, I was allowed to do it, but Biden, he was not allowed. It's the best. It's the fucking best. They should not prosecute me. Biden, he didn't even do what I did. He did something much worse.
Senator, and he was a vice president.
Well, the charges you're facing don't have anything to do with the Presidential Records Act. But let me ask my question so we can get to foreign policy.
Wait a minute. This comes within the Presidential Records Act. That's what it's about.
Let me just ask these questions, and then we can move on to some other topics. You are facing 4 indictments, 91 felony charges.
If you would say it properly, I'm facing 4 Biden indictments. He told the Justice Department to indict him, or Merrick Garland said, let's indict him.
Let me ask you this, Mr. President.
They indicted their political opponent.
I just want to hear from you on this. I want to know what's in your head. When you go to bed at night, do you worry about going to jail?
No, I don't, really. I don't even think about it. I'm built a little differently, I guess, because I have had people come up to me and say, hey.
That's awesome, dude. Come on. Why? That's such a dumb question. He just fucking popped on that. I'm back. I'm voting for Trump. Sorry. He's so back. I got to run that back. That's
you on this. I want to know what's in your head. When you go to bed at night, do you worry about going to jail?
No, I don't, really. I don't even think about it. I'm built a little differently, I guess, because I have had people come up to me and say, how do you do it, sir? How do you do it? I don't even think about it. These are corrupt people that I'm dealing with. They're destroying our country. I don't even think about it. All I think about is making the country great, making America great. Look, these are political, these are Banana Republic indictments. These are third world indictments. The President of the United States sees how we're doing. We have a movement, the likes of which has never happened in this country before.
These are Banana
and
Republic
you see it with the polls.
indictments.
I mean, I'm up on these people by 60 points and 59 points. I don't mean I'm at 59. I'm leading them by 59. You almost say, like, why are they campaigning? Asa Hutchinson, he's at 0. Christie's at 2. Other ones are at 1. DeSanctimonious is at 9. I just see a poll coming. I mean, I'm leading him by 60 points.
Mr. President.
And you say, why are they doing it? But here's what they did. They saw this happening. And he went to the Attorney General of the United States, and he told them, indict Trump.
There's just no evidence of that, Mr.
Why?
President.
Because you mean
but let's stay on
Look
track.
at all the lies.
I mean, like, why are you saying that now? Where was this energy? I mean, I don't fault her for saying it now, but where was the energy about the abortion thing when he was like, it's 50-50. Many people love criminalizing abortion, folks. Like, why are you pushing back so hard when fucking, when it's about big boy Brandon, and how he told his fucking attorney general to indict Trump? Like, obviously, that's also fake. But so is all the other shit that he said.
Mr. President, I want to talk about
Kristen, wait a
you.
minute. Wait. Could I say one thing? Look at all the lies he's told over the last couple of weeks. He said he was at the World Trade Center, and he wasn't. He said he flew airplanes, right? He didn't. He
True. Tell him, dude. He flew an airplane into the Twin Towers, he said.
Trucks, and he didn't. Everything he says is like a lie. It's terrible.
Mr. President,
even his handicap in golf, he said he's a 6. He's not a 6.
I want to stay focused on you.
Okay.
For the purposes of this interview, okay? Because it's important that we hear from you about all of this.
I'd like you to, but you keep interrupting me.
Tell me, Mr. President, tell me what you see when you look at your mugshot.
I see somebody that loves this country in me, that loves this country. I see tremendous unfairness. I think very few people would have been able to handle what I handled. When I was coming down the escalator with Melania, I was already under investigation because they saw how well I was doing in the polls. And it just got worse and worse. And we caught them. We said they were spying on our campaign. It turned out to be true. They had the fake dossier. That turned out to be true. It was paid for by the Democrat Party. It was all fiction. All of these things happened. Impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2. I've been treated very badly. And I've won every single time. When you say, do I sleep? I sleep. I sleep. Because I truly feel that in the end, we're going to win. I think we're going to win an election the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. I don't think anything's going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it. Because people see what's happened to our country. We're not respected in the world. Look at other countries. Look at what's happened.
Bro, he's literally doing the same. You said this the last time. Brother, you said this the last time. Top to bottom, every single thing is the same shit.
Everybody's going to the side of China, Russia, Saudi Arabia.
Folks, I heard this Hasanabi guy. He's on the Leftovers podcast, folks. It's a big-time right-wing podcast. They say they're domestic terrorists. Now he's pro-China. Now he's pro-China. Ethan Klein, folks. He needs to do a better job defending America, folks.
Talk about that.
No,
Mr. President,
China
I want to delve into foreign
world.
policy, but let's get through this, and then I want to talk to you about all of those issues you just talked about, Mr. President. By the way, do you think your former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, is still loyal to you? He just pleaded not guilty in the Georgia
Well, I hope
case.
he's loyal to me. I mean,
do you worry about him flipping?
Wrong.
Do you worry
I didn't
about
do
him?
anything wrong.
Okay, let's talk about Georgia. I want to talk about that phone call that you made to Georgia's Secretary of State, a Republican,
By the way,
Brad Raffensperger.
That was even more perfect than my call to
Let's talk about it.
the president of Ukraine.
Okay.
It was a perfect call. Just before you start, many top legal scholars, almost everyone, but many have analyzed that phone call. That was a phone call made in front of, I guess, 7 or 8 lawyers. Brad Raffensperger, the head, who, by the way, last week said, I didn't do anything wrong. He said that was a negotiation. Brad Raffensperger, who I was dealing with, I appreciate that he said that, but he said last week, I didn't do anything
Let's talk
wrong.
about it so we can move on.
No,
You said in the
let
call.
me just tell you one other thing.
Okay, this is huge. This is huge. This is good. Come on.
I spoke. I knew I was probably being taped. I didn't ask, but I knew
And I still did it because I'm a fucking idiot.
I was probably being taped. You know, they illegally taped me because they taped me in Florida. It's a 2-party state. You know that, right? So they illegally taped the
Dog. You're the president. What are you saying? Bro, what? You're the fucking president. Calling up The fucking Secretary of State, like what? Or the Lieutenant Governor. Like, what are you saying? Like, you can't. That's awesome. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Baby, stop asking to move on and just move on. He doesn't respect you. Act accordingly. Calling the fucking Meet the Press CNN anchor, MSNBC anchor or NBC anchor, a baby is pretty funny.
But forget about that for a second. I knew that there were many lawyers on the phone from the other side. There were many people. There were many people on the phone. When I told them, I said the election was rigged. I said all.
He's like, do you really think, I want Trump to ask the question, do you really think I would say something openly criminal in front of a major phone call that I assumed was being recorded? Because the answer is yes. Like, quite frankly, the answer is fuck yes. Absolutely yes. I think you would do that. But I want him to ask that question, and I want her to turn around and go, yeah, actually, I do. You kind of have a record for this sort of thing. You know? It's just, this is what you do. This is like the most Trump thing you do. You do it all the time. You love doing it.
All sorts of things about the election,
and
which
I
believe it 100%.
They told you it wasn't.
No, I have all the facts. Look, I have all the facts. In one way, I look for a trial because it was so dishonest, okay, so rigged, and such a dangerous thing for our country. We have to have borders, and we have to have fair elections. We have neither.
But I want to talk about the border. I want to talk about the border, but we have to
when
get
I
through
spoke
this.
in front of Brad Raffensperger, who again last week said I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, it
Brad
sounded like you were
Raffensperger
asking for him to
said
come
it was
up with
a negotiation.
11,000 votes.
No.
11,780 votes. One more than we have right now. I know it by heart because it was the perfect phone call. Okay? No, not 11,000. 11,780.
And you know that. You're terrible when you say this. You're off to a bad start. Because what I said was very simple. I got cheated in this election.
He told you
and
didn't.
All I need is like 11,000, whatever the number was.
Brad Raffensperger, who's a Republican, said you didn't get cheated.
Well, he said that, but...
He said he got cheated. All I need is 11,000 whatever. Bitch, you know how many votes you needed. You said it specifically. Don't try to fucking act like you don't remember. Very specific number of votes. Don't try to fucking act like, oh, my memory is hazy on this. You know what you fucking did. Come on now. It's like if I was literally telling you that at the top of the hour there isn't a 3-minute ad break or however many minutes it takes. I don't know. I don't remember. It's like, no, I know exactly. I know exactly how many minutes of ads I'm going to serve you. It's 3. Now, if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.
We have to go and see. You know, there's some court cases out there. We want to go into Fulton County and we want to see the real votes. And it's so hard.
He said they looked into it. The election had been certified 3 times.
I don't want them. I want to look
Flucky, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. B. Bonjuk, thank you for the 20 gifted subs.
into it. I would say that if we got access to the votes, which we're close to getting in court, as you know, if we got access to those votes, if we look in, you will find numbers that you wouldn't believe. More importantly, though, let me just say this.
I want to get through this, Mr. President.
Kristen, you have to just hear me out for 1 second.
Foreign policy section.
We had, because you say something and then you want to go into the next subject. We had many people in the line. When I said, I spoke for an hour. I knew that many people were in the line. I knew that it was I happen to be a really smart person. Who is going to be talking badly when I have lawyers and many other people on the line? Nobody's going to say something bad, but if it was bad, why didn't they say, sir, that was very inappropriate of you to say? Nobody said that. Nobody said, sir. It was only a long time after the call that somebody said, oh, maybe he said something wrong.
They said, sir, there's no evidence.
This is a hoax, just like Russia, just like Ukraine. There's a hoax. Let me tell you. I spoke to them on the phone, and it was left, I think, something to the effect, okay, we'll get together tomorrow. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't speak. If I said something incorrect, one of the lawyers for the state of Georgia, which I love, one of those lawyers would have said, sir, you have to take that back. That's an inappropriate
The
statement.
Republican Secretary
Nobody
of State said there.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm willing to bet. First of all, some of these people that were on this call are like either one, your co-defendants, or two, literally state witnesses. So I wouldn't be fucking popping off like this if I were you. In this otherwise televised debate, we're going to find out a lot about the situation, okay? So that's kind of cool that he's giving that to me. I like that personally. Okay, I personally appreciate that. Is
There
he not
was
cooked?
no.
I mean, him being actually cooked and him being him facing any like serious scrutiny are two entirely separate realities. Okay, do I know? Do I feel as though Trump will? I'm not certain that Trump is going to get serious legal repercussions from this, like actually go to jail. That doesn't mean that he's not like actually dead to rights. You know what I mean?
Evidence to fraud. He said he'd looked into it. The election had been certified three times
You're
when you made
talking
that
about
call.
a different subject. If I said something wrong on the call, he or one of his many lawyers that were on the call would have said, it's inappropriate what you just said. Nobody said that. We had a normal phone call.
They said there's
This
no
became-
evidence of fraud.
He also said, I did nothing wrong last week.
Do you have any regrets about that call?
No.
Whatsoever?
None whatsoever.
Okay.
I called to complain about an election.
Okay.
And I have every right to do that. Do you think I have a right to complain about an election?
You have a right to take your case to court, which you did 60 times.
No.
Okay, we're back. We're back in it. She was pissing me off originally with her fucking lack of defenses for the abortion shit, but like, God, these people are such demons, dude. I take it back. The media is so fucking awful. She had no smoke for actually important things. And she has so much smoke for this, like, otherwise, media fancy story. Hassan, why are you being a misogynist? Because I hate women, dude. I hate women. That's why I love abortions, because I want women to be able to, murder female fetuses. That's why. I'm literally a fan of abortions because I hate women that much. Okay? Because, carrying a pregnancy to term, even if you don't want to, is the most beautiful thing that could ever happen to a woman, and I want to rob women of that joy, okay? That's why. I want to rob women of the joy of childbirth. That's why I'm pro-abortion. Finally, it comes out. I said it.
I didn't do 60 times. They wouldn't hear it based on all sorts of crazy. They wouldn't hear. We never got a trial. Judges would look at stuff and say, I'm not getting involved. They didn't want to get involved.
Let's keep moving so we get through.
If you take a look at the evidence, we have so much evidence. If you take a look at the evidence, even you I could convince.
You were going to hold that press conference, but you never did with the evidence.
No, because I'm using it in my court case instead.
Okay. I want to ask you about the case related to Mar-a-Lago. A new charge suggests you asked a staffer to delete security camera footage so it wouldn't get into the hands of investigators. Did you do that? It's false.
But let me tell you what
Would you
else.
testify to that under oath?
I'll testify.
You testify to that under oath?
It's a fake charge by this deranged lunatic prosecutor who lost in the Supreme Court 9-0, and he tried to destroy lots of lives. He's a lunatic. So it's a fake charge. But more importantly, the tapes weren't deleted. In other words, there was nothing done to them. And they were my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them the tapes, I don't think. I think I would have won in court. When they asked for the tapes, I said, sure, they're my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them. Just so you understand, though,
they're my tapes.
Didn't delete anything. Nothing was deleted.
He's winning the hoarder vote for sure after this one, though. Like, the principles that he has unconditionally defended thus far throughout this entire process have been just to be a hoarder. Like, he's got my vote, dude. There's a lot of shit that I just don't want to fucking throw out, I feel that. I feel that. Like, look behind me, okay? It's like, do I need the literal, like, paper fan that a Japanese fan gave to me in Japan that I brought back to the United States of America? No. But it's got value for me, so I'm keeping it, okay?
So that's false. The people who testified.
Number one, the statement is false. Much more importantly, when the tapes came, and everybody says this, they weren't deleted. We gave them 100%.
Okay.
And just so you know, I offered them. I said, if you want to look at tapes, you can look at them.
Let's move on to January 6th and the allegations that you tried to subvert the election. And again, I just want to give you a chance to talk about this because voters want to hear about this. The most senior lawyers in your own administration and on your campaign told you that after you'd lost more than 60 legal challenges, that it was over. Why did you ignore them and decide to listen to a new outside group?
Because I didn't respect them.
You'd hired
lawyers,
them.
Sure, but that doesn't mean, you hire them, you never met these people, you get a recommendation, they turn out to be rhinos or they turn out to be not so good. In many cases, I didn't respect them, but I did respect others. I respected many others that said the election was rigged. Look, we have many people, and it's my choice. I happen to know that the election was rigged. Okay, I know it because I have there's so much proof of ballot stuffing. It's amazing. Right just a little while ago, in terms of the modern history, where the 51 intelligence agents said very specifically they lied. They all lied. And they said about the laptop that it was Russia disinformation. That was a lie. That had a huge impact on the election. In fact, the pollsters say over 10 points. I didn't need 10 points. I needed 1/10 of a point. If you take a look at the Twitter files with the FBI and Twitter dealing, that had a huge impact on the election. Just those things. But in addition to that, you have ballot stuffing.
Yeah, dude. It's totally... Yeah, no, he's so right on that. If everybody saw Hunter Biden's cock, like, Americans would definitely vote for Donald Trump. Like, they would have turned around and been like, wow, that's it. I'm voting for Donald Trump now. I saw Hunter Biden's cock. Thank God for Twitter files. Like, they showed the truth.
You have a lot of.
When you say you needed 1/10 of a point, you needed 1/10 of a point.
I needed a very small. I think somebody said 22,000 votes
to win.
Yeah, if you divide it among the states, it was 22,000.
You coping hard? Me? Why would I be coping, dude? Brother, Brandon is the fucking president. Okay, you understand? You understand? Let me explain something to you. Okay. Let me explain something to you. Joseph Robinette Brandon is not even a man at this point. He's a corpse. He's a fucking carcass. You understand? He's a goddamn carcass. And what did that goddamn carcass do? Huh? What did he do? He won the election by stealing it. That's right. He stole 11,780 votes in Georgia, and he fucking won, dude. Dark Brandon fucking won. And then he didn't stop right there. He didn't say, look alive, Jack. I won the election, and that's all I'm going to do. No, he took it one step further. He criminally prosecuted all of Trump's greatest loyalists. One by one, he took them apart and sent them to fucking perma-jail. They're all in the American gulags right now, working off their sweaty-ass bodies, okay? Finally, for the first time ever, all of these American HVAC business owners are having to be put to work, slave labor in the fucking gulags for their crimes in January 6th. But that wasn't enough either. What did Dark Brandon do after that? Well, Dark Brandon said, it's not just your supporters, Jack, I'm coming for you too. 90 charges, 4 indictments, 2 state, 2 federal charges. Donald Trump's going to jail. That's right. He criminally is prosecuting his fucking opponent, knowing full well that his opponent was actually supposed to beat him in the election. But Brandon said, you know what? Banana Republic time. You're going to fucking jail, bitch. And so are your co-conspirators. We're going to hit you with the fucking RICO, as a matter of fact. That's right. Go ahead. Talk your shit. Saying I'm coping. Who's coping, motherfucker? The guy you love. The guy you love endlessly, that you've dedicated your whole life into supporting, is about to go to fucking jail. Because Brandon is going to throw his ass in there. That's it.
Votes, something to that effect. Yeah.
To win the election?
Yeah, if I would have had another 22,000 votes over the whole. But look, they rigged the election. If you look at Pennsylvania,
but Mr. President, you're saying you needed more votes to win the election. Are you acknowledging you didn't win?
If you look at all of the statistics, all of the votes, they say 22,000 votes, over millions and millions of votes, 22,000 votes. So when they do Twitter files, or when they have 51 intelligence agents come out and lie that the laptop from hell was Russia disinformation, and now
this is like, okay, you're basically Hillary Rodham Clinton, okay? You're basically Hillary Rodham fucking Clinton engaging in like incredible amounts of copium at that point. And this is just sad, okay? This is fucking sad. He's like, oh, I was so close to winning and I lost because like enough people didn't see Hunter Biden's penis. And if enough people had seen Hunter Biden's cock, they literally would have been like, oh yeah, I can't vote for Joe Biden because he probably has a similar cock, right? Which in and of itself is like pure copium and also was tested, right? It's not like Donald Trump didn't bring up the Hunter Biden shit. He did. It actually humanized Joe Biden when he brought it up in an election, made him look like a fucking sociopath, where he literally was like, yeah, well, your son's a fucking, drug addict. Your son's a drug addict. And Biden fucking put his head down and was like, listen, my son has been battling with addiction. It's been a lifelong struggle, but, he's recovering, and I'm very proud of him. And that was a moment for Biden, that humanized him. Wait, did they actually compare cocks? Yeah, they did. Yeah, Brandon was like, look alive, Jack, my son's dick is massive. So is mine. Oh, my God, dude. Oh, my God. Shut the fuck up. Yes, it's pre-recorded. It's pre-recorded. I am predestined to ban you at this very moment. This is a pre-recorded fucking video.
Now they find out it's not. But they knew that at the time. They cheated on the election in that way, too.
I just want to be clear, though. Are you saying you needed those votes in order to win? Are you acknowledging you didn't win?
I'm not acknowledging. No, I say I won the election.
Okay. Even though, again, your lawyers told you you did not.
No.
Did you? Just let me understand.
Some people told me that,
okay.
But many people told me the opposite.
You called some of your outside lawyers. You said they had crazy theories. Why were you listening?
He did. Now some of them are his co-defendants, by the way. But this is true. He did say that about, what's her name? Sidney Powell. He literally said that. He even said that about Michael Pillow. I'm beginning to feel like Trump is actually the fake friend, a big phony, if you will. Because usually, real ones don't fucking, they don't do this kind of shit.
Because they were telling you what you wanted to hear?
You know who I listened to myself? I saw what happened. I watched that election, and I thought the election was over at 10 o'clock in the evening.
You were listening to your instincts.
My instincts are a big part of it. That's been the thing that's gotten me to where I am, my instincts. But I also listen to people. There are many lawyers. I could give you many books. There are books that are written on how the election was rigged. There are numerous books that were written on how the election was rigged.
Just to be clear, were you listening to your lawyer's advice or were you listening to your own instincts?
I was listening to different people, and when I added it all up, the election was rigged. There are books
were you
that
calling
are written.
Shots, though?
In fact, Molly Hemingway wrote a great book.
But were you calling
Rigged.
the shots ultimately?
Excuse me. Molly Hemingway.
Mm-hmm.
She's like trying to sneak in, help for the prosecution here. She's like, were you calling the shots? Would you say you're a shot caller, Mr. President?
Was highly respected and great. She wrote a book, a best-selling book called Rigged.
Were you calling the shots, though, Mr. President, ultimately?
As to whether or not I believed it was rigged, oh, sure. It was my decision, but I listened to some people. Some people said that. like guys like Bill Barr. He was a stiff, but he wasn't there at the time. But he didn't do his job because he was afraid. You know what he was afraid of? He was afraid of being impeached. He was petrified to be impeached. And how do you not get impeached? Don't do anything.
We've heard so much, Mr. President, about that day, the actual day of January 6th, from other people. Yeah. But quite frankly, we haven't heard from you about your own perceptions of how that day unfolded. Sure. We've heard you talk about the rally. And I'm curious about what happened when you got back to the White House. I know you spent most of the day in the dining room. What were you doing in there? How were you watching it unfold?
So let me just tell you about January 6th. First of all, I had very little to do with January 6th. I was asked to speak. And I was the President of the United States. I'm allowed to do that. But I was asked to speak. Other groups, I think it was women's groups, a lot of people were involved in that. And it was incredible. It was incredible. It was, I think, the largest group I've ever spoken. You never see that. You never see pictures of the group that I was speaking to. I think it was the most people, and I've spoken to some very large groups. Hundreds of thousands of people were there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful sight. But just so you understand, I went and I spoke. And by the way, peacefully and patriotically, and all of that which wasn't reported, but when I spoke, I have had senators go up. They said, I've never heard you speak so moderately. You were very moderate.
What happened when you got back to the White House?
Well, wait, let me just say. So I spoke, and then I went back. I wanted to go down peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol. Secret Service, who I have great respect for, said, sir, it's better if you don't do that. It could be unsafe. Because they didn't mean because of riots, because, it takes one guy with bad intentions, okay? So I didn't have a dispute with them. You had that one person said, I grabbed the man around the neck. Actually, I wish I was so strong to be able to do that. These are all tough guys, smart guys.
So dispute that account.
Dispute it? Who wouldn't dispute it? She's the craziest account I've ever heard. You mean that I was in the Beast, and she said I was in the Beast, and the Secret Service didn't win. So I took a guy who was like a black belt in karate and grabbed his neck and tried to choke him.
What happened?
How ridiculous. Just so you understand, and I have great respect for Secret Service, by the way. They're fantastic. The Secret Service said, sir, it would be better if you did. And I said, I'd love to do it. They said it would be better until we went back to the White House. Just so you understand, I spoke. I made a very nice speech. I wasn't Maxine Waters that calls for people's death and some of these. Take a look at what these other people say.
What happened
it's
when
so
you got
ridiculous.
to the White House, though? Where did you watch all of the events unfold?
Much more importantly, I offered 2 or 3 days before, 10,000 soldiers, right? And they were going to go because everybody was telling me, I knew it was going to be big in terms of the crowd, because everybody I spoke to said, hey, I'm going down on January 6th. I'm going down. I'm going to listen to your speech, et cetera. And there were other speakers. I wasn't the only speaker. There were many speakers. But wait a minute. I offered 10,000 people to the mayor of Washington, D.C., Nancy Pelosi, both of them, Nancy Pelosi, and to the mayor of Washington. And they turned it down flat. And the police commissioner was very nasty about it to her. And he testified. And here's what happened. The January 6th unselect committee of thugs and horrible people, the unselect committee.
This is the part where it's like, this is the type of shit that I don't think, I don't think like Trump supporters and especially not like Meet the Press watchers are going to appreciate, because it's so boring. Like this is like old bits that need to die if Trump wants to make an impact, but he's still crying. You know what I mean? Bro is a communist. He has millions and spends it on fancy cars and sits on his ass 24/7, making thousands every day. You make me sick, bro. No, bro is a orange. I don't understand why this makes you sick. Like, shouldn't you love that? Like, aren't you a capitalist then? If I'm a communist, right, and you hate that, then shouldn't you be literally a capitalist? In which case, like, what do you think capital accumulation is? Even on your own twisted fucking worldview, like, I'm at least like sitting here, people are giving me money, rather than like me sitting on fucking money and making it work by, I don't know, being a landlord or some shit. That's why I always say, like, hey, listen, like, okay, I'm a capitalist then. Go ahead. What changed about anything that I'm arguing on behalf of? Sure. You know, I'm a capitalist. Okay, let's have a conversation about like what I'm doing that's wrong. Not necessarily some like values that you've ascribed to socialism, communism, or capitalism. So I'm twisted just because I'm right wing? I never said that. You know? Splinter Discourse really got riled up today. Yeah, there's been a concerned effort in brigading happening all around the fucking place, but who cares? I didn't say that. I don't know if you're twisted. You might be. You said in your twisted worldview. Do you think that means you're twisted? I'm saying in your worldview, which I believe is distorted, okay, in accordance to mine, in comparison to mine, okay, like opposite world, okay? I'm not saying you're twisted. I'm saying your worldview implies that communism is wrong, which I assume means that you are a capitalist. Ay, ay, ay. He's a MAGA communist. You called him a capitalist? Children in here because you mentioned Sneeko today? Yeah, probably. I thought they would have been banned by now, though, which is crazy. I see this all the time from people. Like, they'll literally be like, Hasan exploits his fucking editors or some shit. And people will be like, that's not true. But even if it was fucking true, like, you know, you're over here arguing on behalf of, like, you know, other people exploit. Like, I can see your Reddit account. You think exploitation is not a problem. So why the fuck are you, like, fake chirping about some perceived hypocrisy about Hasan? So it's not an issue when, like, other companies do it, but it's an issue when Hasan does it? Like, what? So you don't have an issue with it at all. You just don't want Hasan to do it. You know, it's so stupid. It's like, what are we doing here? Okay. So you don't have an issue with exploitation. You have an issue with me. And it's also stupid because, like, again, it's not even true. I've been in this community for more than 3 years. People have been bringing the editor's takes since my first day here. Yeah, it's just, like, ridiculous. It has never stopped. Anyway.
Destroyed all the evidence.
They say they didn't do that. We did ask them. We did ask the January 6th committee.
Same, almost 3 years. Bro, it was a lie back then, and it's still a lie. That has never stopped. House, car, went to a brothel that was raided for tax evasion, but we're going to fucking lie and say he sex trafficked minors or some shit. It's just like they've only compounded on top of one another, and it's either things that didn't happen, or things that are just like completely normal, or things that they just made up.
Well, they announced that they destroyed and deleted most of the evidence.
They say some of the evidence is still under review. I want to know what. Wait. I want to know about your perspective, Mr. President.
Wait, Kristen,
I want to
they put out an announcement that they destroyed the evidence, and they destroyed all the stuff having to do with Nancy Pelosi, and they wouldn't let her testify. We said, why isn't she testifying? You know, it was a whole rigged deal. Why isn't she testifying? I offered them 10,000 soldiers. She turned them.
I want to know what
that
you
she's in
did
charge
on
of
that
security.
day. I want to know. You're the president of the United States, though.
She's in charge of
Tell me how you watched this all unfold. Were you in the dining room watching TV?
I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell people later at an appropriate time. Just so you understand, however.
What did you do when the Capitol was under attack, though?
Let me just tell you.
In the moment that the Capitol was under attack.
Did you see the statements I made in the Oval Office and just outside of the Oval Office?
Absolutely. I was there that day.
Our police are great. We love our police. We love everybody. Go home.
This was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, more than
I don't know.
3 hours after the attack started.
But there were tweets that were put out before that.
I want to know who you called
By the way,
on that day.
Nancy Pelosi. I don't have. Why would I tell you that? Listen, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers.
This is my favorite argument because it's like, dog, what are the soldiers there for? Even that part is not true. But even if it was true, they're there to, like, what? Kill your fans that you brought to the White House, to the fucking Capitol? Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, Nancy Pelosi didn't want the soldiers to be there. Okay, it's like, one, you're the president. Two, these are your fans. Like, what do you want? On the one hand, you keep saying January 6th was not that bad, and these are political prisoners. We need to release them. On the other hand, you're like, Nancy Pelosi should have let the fucking military kill them? Like, what? This doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. He's trying to suggest that Antifa did a conspiracy and Nancy was on it. Okay, then why are fucking Trump supporters in jail? If it's just the Antifa that was thrown in fucking jail, why is he trying to get him out of jail? Make that make sense. Do you understand? Why is he trying to release his fans from fucking jail? This is the same idiotic fucking argument that doesn't make any sense when Republicans say Democrats are the real Confederacy, they're the real racists, while simultaneously being the fucking people that are like, you know, rocking the stars and bars while they go out to vote. It's so stupid. You have to be a fucking idiot to agree with this stuff. You have to be so stupid. And unfortunately, many are, okay? That's what's so sad.
Soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th.
Did you call military or law enforcement?
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol was under attack?
I'm not going to tell you anything. Let me put it this way.
Bro's ignoring all the good right-wing arguments in the chat. Where are the good right-wing arguments in the chat? Please highlight them. I love... The reason why you're not banned is because we are so fucking desperate for like some actual good right-wing arguments lately. And it has not been a thing for a while. I miss it. Now, they were never good arguments, obviously. They were always bad arguments, but at least they were fun.
Behaved so well. I did such a good job. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers.
I did such a good job. He's such a kid.
If she didn't do that.
But
and now
Nancy
I understand,
Pelosi doesn't have the authority that
the
you
police
have as
testified
commander in
against.
chief, though.
Listen to me, Kristen. Listen to me. I understand that the police testified against her, the chief very strongly against her, Capitol Police, great people. They testified against her, and they burned all the evidence. Okay, they burned all the evidence. They destroyed all the evidence about Nancy Pelosi.
What do you say?
Bro's entire... Man, just give me a fucking... Give me an argument. Give me an argument. Give me an argument. You're not. You're just like complaining. You're crying that I called people that believe that Democrats are the real party of fucking racists while simultaneously defending the Confederacy idiots. Yes, if you, cool guy from Missouri, believe in the message of heritage, not hate, and then simultaneously claim that the Democratic Party are still Dixiecrats and they're the real racist ones or whatever the fuck, then you're a dumbass. Like, if you advocate on the one side for the Republican Party and its inception in Abraham Lincoln's policies and then simultaneously defend the Confederacy, you're a fucking moron, okay? I'm sorry. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm sick and tired of dumbass Americans who've been babied their whole fucking lives thinking that just because you came up with an opinion that it must mean it must be valuable. It must mean something to everyone around us. So people must listen to your dumbass, inbred, hick, backwards fucking takes and go, actually, there's probably some utility to me hearing this, when in most circumstances there isn't. Sometimes it's okay to just be a dumbass, inbred hick, for example, and your opinions might just be wrong and incorrect. Now, what you could do is maybe stop being a fucking dumbass, okay? You can't stop being inbred. I don't know if you are or not. But you can't stop those other things. But at least you can, like, hide the fact that you are those things and not be a fucking... bro, I just saw someone that said, fuck Missouri, and I completely agree. Oh, my God, he's not... All right, we're done. We're done. Here, take a second off, okay? Anyway, my point was, you could be inbred, you could be stupid, but you can also be quiet and hide that you are like that. You know what I mean? Like, you could do that, but you don't want to do that. Most people just want to be heard. That's it.
To people who wonder why you as commander-in-chief, you have authorities that Nancy Pelosi doesn't have as commander-in-chief.
No, she has authority over the Capitol.
Why didn't you send help in that moment, though?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it. She turned down...
So when you realized that the National Guard wasn't coming?
Well, you don't realize anything until quite a while. National Guard not coming. I asked it to be there 3 days in advance, and she turned it down.
She says that request was never officially made.
Oh,
just
stop
so
it.
you know.
Let me just tell you.
Let me ask you
The
about
mayor
pardons,
let me
Mr.
tell you.
President.
The mayor of D.C. gave us a letter saying that she turns it down. Okay, we have it. Nancy Pelosi also was asked, and she turned it down. The police commissioner
I'm talking
of
about the
Capitol
day of,
Police,
though.
wait a minute.
Yep.
Capitol Police said that he wanted it, and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't accept it. She's responsible for January 6th.
Mr. President.
Nancy Pelosi's responsible.
Mr. President,
and the J6
you're the president,
committee
though.
refused to interview
You have
her.
authorities that no one else has as the commander in chief. Do you think you showed leadership on that day?
Yes, absolutely, I did.
Okay.
And I showed calm. Nancy Pelosi is responsible for the security, and she did a terrible job. And by the way, from what I understand, they burned all the evidence.
Okay. She says she never got an official request. They say they didn't, but that's what you're saying.
Really?
Let's talk about.
And her daughter taping her. Her daughter happened to be a documentary.
Let's talk about potential
documentary
pardons.
worker just happened to be there taping her at the time.
Let's talk about potential pardons, because a lot of your supporters are wondering about that. Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio was sentenced to 22 years in jail. Now that you know what the sentence is, 22 years in jail, will you give him a pardon? Will you give other Proud Boys a pardon?
I don't know him. I never met him. I never heard of him until I started reading this stuff.
Will you pardon him?
But I want to tell you, he and other people have been treated horribly. Antifa killed people, and those guys didn't even get tried in many cases.
There's no
They put these guys in jail for 17, 18, and 22 years. They didn't kill anybody. Some of them never even went into the Capitol. Some of them weren't even in D.C., and they got a 22 or a 17-year sentence. 16, 18,
more than 1,000
15,
people
22.
have been
Wait a
charged,
minute.
Mr.
Wait a
President.
minute. Yeah, 1,000 people. How many people, let me ask you this. How many people were charged for destroying Portland? How many people were charged for burning
Will you
down
give
the
him a
police
pardon?
precinct and the
Will you
courthouse
pardon him, though? Will you pardon him?
in Minneapolis? I'd certainly look at it. I'd look at that, and I'd look at all the other people that have suffered, the J6 people.
Mr. President, let me ask you one final question, then let's move on to foreign
that
policy.
didn't even go into the building have suffered gravely. And you have to say one system of justice, right? You take a look.
But that's not, bro. He always says one system of justice, and then literally will be like, and in that system of justice, the Republicans need to be pardoned and the Democrats need to be extra punished. It's the same principle behind, like, you can't prosecute me for withholding classified documents, but you should prosecute Joe Biden for having the classified documents that he immediately gave to the archives. Like, he didn't even fucking do anything. Like, he cooperated with the fucking authorities. Okay? Joe Brandon did. And you know who else did? Mike Pence, which Trump conveniently ignores in this situation. It's so sad that basically zero Democratic politicians have said anything about Stop Cop City protesters who are being charged with domestic terrorism right now by also the same state of Georgia under the same RICO charges, mind you. It is fucking unimaginable. It is insane. It is unjust. And yet, of course, there is no support for it. And there will never be any support for it because that's cops. Cops are untouchable. They're the God Kings.
At what's gone on in Portland, they burned down the city. The city is in shambles to this day. The store owners don't even rebuild storefronts anymore. They put up 2x4s.
I want to move on to foreign policy, Mr. President.
But why do you do that? Why do you give me a horrible question and then you don't let me answer it? You're off to a bad start, I'm telling you.
Mr. President, I want to make sure we get to talk about foreign policy as well.
But I don't mind. I have all the time in the world.
You do? Okay.
I have all the time in the world. Why is it that the people, Antifa people, and very bad people that burned down Portland, burned down Minneapolis, burned down so much, New York City, what they did in New York City, and they were barely charged. And yet the people in Washington, in some cases, never even went into the building. They've been persecuted. They've been persecuted.
The people who were charged in January 6th, some of them were charged with sedition. Some of them were charged for violating the Capitol.
But many of these people have been persecuted.
Your supporters?
What they've done to them.
Your
And they
supporters
didn't do this to the people that burned down. You take a look at Portland. It's like a burned down hulk of a city, including the federal courthouse.
Mr. President, if you were reelected, would you pardon yourself?
I could have pardoned myself. Do you know what? I was given an option to pardon myself. I could have pardoned myself when
The best part.
I left. People said, would you like to pardon yourself? I had a couple of attorneys that said, you can do it if you want. I had some people that said it would look bad if you do it, because I think it would look terrible. I said, here's the story. These people are thugs, horrible people, fascists, Marxists, sick people. They've been after me from the day I came down the escalator with Melania, and I did a great job as president.
For the record, the reason why he's not talking about the Kai Cenat situation is because, contrary to yet another instance where, like, a lot of people on subreddits specifically made it to be the worst possible thing that could have ever happened in the state of New York since 9/11, it was a blip on a fucking radar, and it went and passed by. Just like whenever people say, me saying cracker is the worst offense, the most racist thing on the entire planet, and it's just a blip that goes by. And that's it. That is just, this is another lesson in not thinking that, like, everything that you're seeing in your immediate orbit is actually the most significant, most prescient political debate that people have to fucking engage in. Okay? Yeah. It's always incredibly silly, incredibly stupid, and oftentimes you are made to believe that is a serious fucking subject matter that needs to be discussed. And it's not. And most normal people would never consider it. Weren't you banned? Yes, I was. And virtually everyone outside of the LSF circle and Twitch, and even a lot of people in Twitch, thought it was fucking nutty or hilarious. Okay? Higher standards than POTUS. Same with the Kai Cenat situation. Same with, like, Walgreens are closing down because people are stealing nonstop. Okay? I remember some chatter saying you were the most racist person in the last 100 years. Yes, someone said, unironically, because I remember it's the greatest comment I've ever received, that I would be the most racist man in the 1900s, a time when Hitler was around. Why? Because I'm racist towards white people, and so that's like somehow worse than being racist to black people, apparently, according to that guy. That's not a chatter. That was Keem. No, Keem said I want bad things to happen to black people.
People are acknowledged. Great economy, great jobs, great this, great that. Rebuilt the military, Space Force, everything. I could go on forever. Let me just tell you. I said the last thing I'd ever do is give myself a pardon. I could have given myself a pardon. Don't ask me about what I would do. I could have, the last day, I could have had a pardon done that would have saved me all of these lawyers and all of these fake charges, these Biden indictments. They're all Biden.
They're still saying you'd be on the Nazi side because of your foreign policy takes. I don't know who these they are, but that is pretty funny, especially because I suspect that those people are not USSR supporters in any capacity. So that's relatively odd. Anyone that says I'd be on the fucking Nazi side is they deserve to go out the way that Nazis did. Let's be real. They basically said you were the white David Duke.
Biden indictments, political. They want to arrest their political opponents. Only third world countries do that, banana republics. So, ready? I never said this to anybody. I was given the option. I could have done a pardon of myself. You know what I said? I have no interest in.
There's been a lot of recent revisionist history on Molotov-Ribbentrop and claimed the USSR and Nazi Germany were allies. Oh, that's a fucking classic trope. Well, good thing that didn't happen. You know what I mean? We all know that USSR shouldered the most significant burdens of killing Nazis, and we're better at killing Nazis overall. So.
Even thinking about it. I never even wanted to think about it. And I could have done it. And all of these questions you're asking me about the fake charges, you wouldn't be asking me because it's a very powerful thing for a president. I was told by some people that these are sick lunatics that I'm dealing with. Give yourself a pardon. Your life will be a lot easier. I said, I would never give myself a pardon.
Even if you were reelected in this moment?
Well, I think it's very unlikely. What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. You mean because I challenged an election, they want to put me in jail? I challenged an election, but I challenged a crooked election.
So it's not
It
on
was
your
a rigged
radar
election.
right now.
I challenged a rigged election. And now I'm going to win for a third time. And I just hope they have better vote counters.
Let's move on to foreign policy, Mr. President. I want to talk about the war in Ukraine. I want to big picture get a sense of how you see this conflict. Do you see the security of Ukraine as critical to the security of the United States?
Okay, let me talk about it without interruption. Right? Ukraine would have never happened if I were president.
He's the GOAT, dude. Ukraine would have never happened if I was president, is what he keeps saying. Same with Afghanistan. I would have pulled out, and it would have been so much better. Okay? Ukraine would have never happened if I was president. It's like, it's always like, luckily he didn't have to be there, but if he were, it would have been solved. Okay?
If this election weren't rigged, Ukraine would have never happened. You would have hundreds of thousands of people, including lots of soldiers, still living. The cities would be flourishing or at least up. These are cities that can never be rebuilt again, certainly not the way they were. Magnificent buildings, all ripped down like a demolition site. It would have never happened for two reasons. Number one, and most importantly, Putin has a lot of respect for me. And
bro, he's a MAGA communist. What he's saying is Vladimir Putin would have had no interest in Ukraine because I wouldn't have allowed NATO to be involved with Ukraine in a way that would like threaten him. That's why him and the MAGA communists are of one mind. He's pushing Z in that regard. Okay? That's what he's saying.